What if the lines drawn on a map over 100 years ago still controlled the destiny of millions of people today? That's not a hypothetical question. In Africa, it's not just history, it's a living, breathing reality. Imagine this: a group of powerful men gather in a distant city. They take out a map of a continent they barely know, and with rulers and pens, they start drawing lines. They don't care about the people living there, about ancient kingdoms, shared cultures, or ethnic groups that have existed for centuries. They only care about one thing: what's best for them. That's exactly what happened at the Berlin Conference of 1884. European powers carved up Africa like a cake, completely ignoring the complex tapestry of societies that had thrived there for millennia. They drew borders for their own benefit, to claim resources and strategic land. In doing so, they sliced through communities, splitting families and clans in half. At the same time, they forced ancient rivals, groups with long histories of conflict, to live together within the same newly created, fragile states. The result? A continent born into division. This wasn't just about redrawing a map. It was about reprogramming the social and political DNA of an entire continent. Ethnic groups that had once been independent nations suddenly found themselves as minorities in countries they never asked to be a part of. Mistrust, which might have been managed through traditional diplomacy or trade, now festered within these artificial constructs. The borders, made by strangers, became the battle lines of the future. The seeds of conflict were sown, not by Africans themselves, but by ink on paper in faraway European capitals. Think about the consequences. In Nigeria, the British cobbled together over 250 distinct ethnic groups, including the Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa Fulani, into a single colony. This artificial union created immediate tensions that would later explode into the devastating Biafran War in the late 1960s, a conflict that claimed millions of lives. Look at Sudan, where the British administered the Arab, Muslim North and the Black, Christian and animist South as separate entities. But at independence, they were lumped together into one nation. The result was decades of civil war, one of the longest in African history, eventually leading to the creation of South Sudan, which itself has faced immense challenges. And then there's Rwanda. The colonial Belgian rulers amplified and manipulated the differences between the Hutu and Tutsi peoples. They used ethnic identity as a tool of control, issuing identity cards and favoring the Tutsi minority for positions of power, which created deep-seated resentment. When the colonial system collapsed, this manufactured division erupted into the horrific genocide of 1994. These are not isolated incidents. They are direct, tragic legacies of borders drawn without thought or care for the human beings they would affect. The lines on the map created a permanent state of instability. But the borders weren't the only curse left behind. The entire structure of colonial governance was designed for one purpose: extraction. The institutions that colonizers built, the courts, the parliaments, the civil service, were never meant to serve or protect the African people. They were tools designed to protect colonial interests and ensure that resources like rubber, diamonds, and cocoa flowed smoothly back to Europe. Justice systems were there to enforce colonial laws, not to deliver justice. Parliaments were often powerless puppet assemblies. The administration wasn't about public service. It was about control. These were hollow systems, shells of what a functioning state should be. So what happens when independence finally comes? African nations inherited these broken, empty institutions. They were like a car with a shiny exterior but no engine. When faced with the immense pressures of building a new nation, managing ethnic diversity, and developing an economy, these fragile systems cracked and shattered. They weren't equipped to handle the challenges because they were never designed to. Into this vacuum of power stepped military strongmen and authoritarian rulers. Coups became common. Corruption, which had been a feature of the exploitative colonial system, became deeply embedded in the new governments. Many countries found themselves struggling to build stable, democratic societies on these incredibly shaky foundations. So, Africa inherited a double-edged sword. Borders that divide its people and institutions too weak to manage those divisions. This legacy continues to echo through the continent today. We see it in ongoing conflicts, in fragile democracies that teeter on the brink of collapse, and in economies that often stumble, struggling to break free from cycles of dependency that began in the colonial era. When you see news about political instability or conflict in an African nation, it's rarely a simple story. More often than not, you can trace the roots of the problem back to these two colonial legacies: the artificial borders and the weak institutions. But here is the most important truth. History does not have to define Africa's future. The past explains the present, but it doesn't have to dictate what comes next. Across the continent, there is a powerful movement of people working to overcome these historical burdens. The solution lies in consciously and deliberately reversing the damage. It starts with strengthening institutions from the ground up, building impartial courts that deliver real justice, creating representative governments that are accountable to the people, and fostering a civil service dedicated to public good, not personal enrichment. It's about building systems that serve the people, not just the leaders. It also means building a new sense of unity that goes beyond tribe, ethnicity, and the artificial borders of the past. Pan-African ideals, regional economic cooperation, and cultural exchanges are all powerful tools for forging a shared identity rooted in a common future, not a divided past. Movements led by young, innovative, and determined Africans are rewriting the narrative every single day. They are building businesses, creating art, demanding accountability, and proving that the continent's potential is limitless. The scars of the past can become the lessons for tomorrow. The challenges are immense, but the spirit and resilience of the African people are even greater. Africa's story is one of complexity, resilience, and immense hope. It deserves to be told with honesty about the past and optimism for the future. If you believe in the importance of understanding this story, then please help this channel grow. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, share it with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to our channel. By building this platform together, we can continue to explore these crucial topics and help push Africa's true story forward. Thank you for watching.